So I decided that today is the day I am going to make a decision I probably would regret, maybe for the rest of my life. And that is for me to watch the 2022 Netflix adaptation of Persuasion. Now, Persuasion is my third favorite Jane Austen novel. My first is, of course, Pride and Prejudice because I am basic like that. The second is Emma because I love Emma. I love her as a character. I love her character development. And I, of course, also love Mr. Knightley. I mean, who wouldn't? But my third favorite Jane Austen novel is Persuasion. I think Anne Elliot is divine as a character. She's soft, she's kind, she's beautiful inside out, but she also has that backbone of steel, especially at the point where we meet her in the novel. And I also love Captain Wentworth. I think his letter is one of the most romantic things ever written in literature. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, I have only watched two Persuasion film adaptations so far. The 1995 one with Amanda Root and the 2007, I think, one with Sally Hawkins. I think it was 2007. Either 2007 or 2005, but I think it was 2007. But the one with Sally Hawkins, and I do believe that Persuasion does not get the level of detail and the adaptation it deserves. So a part of me is hoping that this does it, but I've heard some not so great things. I've stayed away from spoilers, so I actually don't have any idea how the film goes. But I have seen some conversations on Twitter about how horrible it is, and I'm like, do I want to torture myself with a horrible adaptation of Persuasion this morning? I do it for you. I do it so you won't have to go through the stress. So let's watch Persuasion together. Fingers crossed.
Help my heart. But he was a sailor.
I don't know about them kissing, but I don't mind. I read somewhere that the presumption that people during the Regency Edwardian era did not kiss is something that more modern day, like we apply our more modern day sensibilities to their lives. I can't remember where I read it, but I think it was like a paper, like a literature review paper. And they mentioned the fact that, of course, like they did kiss. Of course, they did it. They did kiss, but they didn't do it in public. It was usually something that they did more within like places where they had some privacy. It was also the reason why, yeah, sure, there were quite a number of kids born at 8 months old or 7 months old when after their parents like hurriedly did like the wedding. So because the part of me was like, yo, why are they kissing in public like that? But then I'm like, I have to remind myself that that is me applying modern day sensibilities as to how people acted during that era, because they're in a field. Clearly, they're most likely the only people there. They have some sort of privacy. And the thing I did like about Persuasion, the reason why it is like also one of my favorite, and I think that this applies to a lot of Jane Austen novels, but Anne Elliot is quite older, right? She's past the age where she's marrying young and thinking about that. And as someone who is older myself, I am unmarried by choice. It's something that resonates with me.
Now I'm single and thriving.
What?
I spend my time drinking fine wines.
Excuse me, what? See, that's a choice. I know this, we saw this in the trailer, but I thought that the trailer was more of a commentary, like a tongue-in-cheek type commentary. not what we would see in the actual film. She said that I'm single and thriving.
He is the sole object of his own warmest respect and devotion. One's family is only escapable.
Well, I would say that I like the way in which they captured his obsession with himself so far. That's a good introduction to Sir Walter Elliot. And it's interesting, the color scheme, the way in which they've painted and portrayed the house is giving me 2020 film Emma. I love that movie. Anna Taylor-Joy gave me joy. Like actual joy.
What right has the British Navy to bring persons of obscure birth into undue distinction? Only God has the right to bestow rank.
Once again, we're keeping with the Sir Walter Elliot, loves to hear himself speak, is very vain, loves to spend money, and cannot stand naval officers, which at least, even if it is that they're going to insert modern day lingo into a film at a time when people did not speak like that, I appreciate the fact that they did not change the entire story completely. Although this their habit of bringing modern day lingo, I'm already having heart palpitations at the thought, because what if they ruin when what's left? They wouldn't. They would like that. Nah, that's too iconic. Like no, nah, they wouldn't. They wouldn't dare.
And among the three of you, the only one I wanted to exchange calling cards with.
Well, exchange calling card is better than what I would have said, which is bump things.
I'm angry with myself for being persuaded.
Can you guess that the title of the movie is Persuasion, with the amount of time that Anne Elliot has deemed it fit in this movie to tell us that she was persuaded? I need to reread Persuasion, but I could have sworn that Jane Austen did not drive home the fact that Anne was persuaded 3 times in how many minutes? Like, this film is very on the nose, right? It's very on the nose, like we're gonna hit you on the head just in case you cannot infer, just in case you do not have the intelligence to figure out what is happening and how this is titled with the film. Here, let us feed you breadcrumbs because you do not know anything.
The first note he passed me in church. Playlist he made me.
I'm sorry, did she just say playlist? Like a Spotify playlist, but with sheet music? What is that? I'm just... If I keep highlighting the audacity of the writers to massacre, because Persuasion does not get enough love as is, and the fact that you would do this is because it's Anne. I honestly think it's because it's Anne. I also think that the breaking of the fourth wall bit and the way in which it is being portrayed is also very modern in its execution. This is just, why didn't they just do a more modern interpretation of Persuasion? They easily could have done it instead of this mess. Think the way in which Clueless is a modern interpretation of Emma and was done so perfectly well. Like, they could have done that instead of this mess. You cannot tell me you're doing a period piece and then just totally break that immersion by all this nonsense that they're doing.
Mrs. Penelope Clay, widowed, though she never speaks of it. He was a corpse when they met, so perhaps the transition escaped her attention.
Okay, that was funny. In the movie's defense, I do like the way in which they play and use music to set the tone for the various tonal shifts that they've employed, right? Because Persuasion was not, it had its hilarious moments, right? Clearly, Sir Walter Elliot was a satire, even with Jane Austen writing it. But I I do like the fact that this they've played up the humor, and then they have this moment of introspection for Anne, and what they've done is found a way to use music even in the same scene when you have these opposing tonal shifts and changes and clashes. They've used music to just separate and segue and segment it in a way that just makes it work better. So I don't mind that. That is actually pretty good.
You haven't even asked me how I'm feeling. I just did. I'm so close to death. I can feel my organs decomposing.
I do think she captures the drama that is the essence of Mary Musgrove Nee Elliot perfectly well.
Please understand, the thing about me is I am an empath.
The anachronism in this adaptation is mind-blowing in its audacity. An empath. She...
Frederick!
That was a choice.
Remember how Charles wanted to marry me before he married Charles? I mean, Mary?
Is there a reason why they had Anne just blurt it out? Because in the book, it was Louisa that mentioned the fact that, Charles had wanted to marry Anne, but she refused him, which is why he then married Mary. And them making Anne be the one to say this is a choice, because it's either she's insensitive enough to blurt that out at the dinner table with all the parties concerned in attendance, which does not make any sense to a character because Anne Elliot is not insensitive. Or they're making it that, oh, she's nervous and slightly jealous about the attentions that Wentworth is giving Louisa. And so, as they would say in Yoruba, anyway, jabo, o jabo, right? But that makes no sense either, because that is, Anne Elliot is a character that is steadfast in her devotion and in the way in which she carries herself and in the love she has for those close and dear to her heart. And this writing is an insult and an affront to who she was as a character. Like, to who she is as a character. What?
I'm doing my best.
The best? About what?
About you and me. I don't want you to be angry.
Well, she did get her confirmation that he is angry. I mean, that is what she wanted a scene ago, unless she forgot. There was the hate me or love me, but don't be indifferent to me spiel that she was spewing a scene ago, unless the writer and the director, both of them forgot that that was what they had her say a scene ago.
I give all of my attention to others and then I suffer for it. Cuánto disto el pueblo sello. You're right. But how do I prioritize?
Honestly, I think my problem with this depiction of Anne Elliot is that this is not an Elliot. It seems like they were going more for an Elizabeth than they were for an Anne. And I know Jane Austen wrote both books, but Elizabeth Bennet is her own person and Elliot is her own person, and they are both and each remarkable women in their own rights. Why? Of all the choices, why? Oh God. She's acting more like Elizabeth Bennet, or the way in which people think Elizabeth Bennet would act, as opposed to her being an Elliot, and it is frustrating.
Shockingly self-aware.
I don't like the typography or like that they put in place when they move from place to place. It's really beautifully done. Sorry, I work in advertising, so I see pretty typography and I feel a connection to it.
You're young. You don't know what the future has in store. You will rally, and you will be happy again.
I always love every interpretation and reiteration of that scene.
Considering what I'd like help with, probably not.
Henry Golden is always going to be hard. He's so fine. He's so fine. And I want to rewatch Crazy Rich Asians again. And now I'm remembering that they still have not given us part 2 yet. And it's been years. And we don't even know if they're shooting at the moment. But
Now we're worse than exes. We're friends.
they just had to ruin a great, like, it was proceeding well, things were going well, there was the emotion of the moment, and the ham fisting comes in. Now we're worse than exes, we're friends. Mm. And that's the thing. There's such mutual, prolonged pining in Persuasion. It's one of the things I love about the story. The way Anne is pining for Wentworth and Wentworth is pining for Anne. It's beautiful to read. And it's beautiful to watch until they interrupt with the "now we're worse than exes, we're friends." Like, why? Why?
Actually, so far it's its most winning quality.
To assist you, Mrs. Harper. No one so capable, so perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, just volunteer her without her consent or speaking to her first. Like, please just volunteer her. Han has no plans. She's so nice. And that's... This is not a criticism of the book, by the way, or the adaptation. This is just a criticism of how... This is just a commentary on how, it's Anna's consistently being the one that everybody just dumps their problems and issues on and just walks away, and nobody's really concerned about what she wants, her happiness, because Anne is amazing. I keep forgetting how annoyed I was about, because I was like, Louisa, why did she jump? But she's young, so I know.
Do you know whose company I enjoy?
Mine.
My own.
I enjoy my company as well. Like, and I think that's a lot of people do not understand or figure out, right? Like, if it is that you have created a life where you're surrounded by the things you love and you found a way to create a home that you look forward to coming to, because once again you have your interest that you've invested in, right? So I come home from work and I'm either picking up a book, reading a comic, picking up a manga, playing a video game, watching a K-drama, watching an anime that I'm catching up on, watching a TV show, watching a movie. Like, I just I've become very selective of the company I keep because I like my own company. And if I'm not going to be in my own company, then I better love your company, because why else would I choose your company over my own? Doesn't make any sense.
That's him! Get the door out! Don't sludge.
I have a feeling that they're going to rush the latter part of the story because we only have 36 minutes to go in this movie, and there's so much more that is meant to happen.
Tell me something. You'd honestly rather prevent Mrs. Clay from taking my father's arm than talk with me?
My dear Octopus, it's not even close.
I do appreciate the fact that they maintain the verbal sparring that is the relationship that is between Anne Elliot and William Elliot. Like, that verbal sparring was something I really appreciated, the back and forthness of it. So I like the fact that we do get that in the adaptation.
Only is he rich and well-mannered. I believe you've taken an interest in him. I would never have recommended it otherwise.
Can I just say that I love the fascinators that they gave Lady Russell? Stunning. Especially the way in which they set it on her fro. It's just really lovely.
I would astonish myself and others with my quiet dignity.
That's it. That's what, like, I think of Anne Elliot. Quiet dignity.
Just to put in order before Saturday. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting again. No. I'm afraid it's I who's interrupting.
I swear. Chaos gremlin.
Ever since Louise's accident, life just seems so fragile and fleeting. It's made me realise how important it is to spend time away from one's children.
Oh God, I love Mary Elliott. Like, she's just unique. She's a character.
You need to give Wentworth a proper send-off before we go to St. Vincent. Absolutely. A few drinks. Okay.
Because they're at the dinner party. And I'm over here and I'm like, I know what happens at this party. So it would seem like a large chunk of the book is going to be missing. Which is a shame, because I was looking forward to that reveal. We're getting to the letter. We're getting to the letter. Okay. This movie, don't ruin it. Do not ruin it. Because, like, this is as iconic for me as the two Darcy proposals. Like, or even Knightley's proposal. Like, okay.
Marry Mr. Elliot, but I will never forgive myself if I do not tell you this. You alone have brought me to Bath. For you alone I think and plan.
They did not keep the letter. What is the use of having parts of the letter and then stopping when you could have just gone all the way through? You had one job. One job. You know, I have just... Let me read the letter, the actual Wentworth letter. I can listen no longer in silence. I must speak to you by such means as are within my reach. You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me that I am not too late, that such precious feelings are gone forever. I offer myself to you again with a heart even more your own than when you almost broke it 8 years and a half ago. Dare not say that man forgets sooner than woman, that his love has an earlier death. I have loved none but you. Unjust I may have been, weak and resentful I have been, but never inconstant. You alone have brought me to birth. For you alone I think and plan. Have you not seen this? Can you fail to have understood my wishes? I have waited even these 10 days. Could I have read your feelings as I think you must have penetrated mine? I can hardly write. I am every instant hearing something which overpowers me. You sink your voice, but I can distinguish the tones of that voice when they would be lost on others. Too good, too excellent creature, you do us justice indeed. You do believe that there is true attachment and constancy among men. Believe it to be most fervent, most undeviating in Frederick Wentworth. I must go on certain of my fate, but I shall return either, or follow your party as soon as possible. A word, a look will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening or never. Like, it just... that letter is beauty. And just the peak of the awesomeness that is persuasion. And we didn't even get that. We didn't even... What was that? Oh my God.
Oh, who to love? I learned the hard way.
So we're going to get... So we got a William Elliot and Mrs. Clay wedding, but we're not going to get an Anne and Wentworth wedding. Well, to be fair, we didn't get the letter, we didn't get a lot of things, so I don't know why I'm surprised about the fact that there were a lot of things we did not get with Persuasion. Not like we actually got the wedding in the book, but still. Already, they clearly are not being, like, they're clearly not sticking to the spirit of the book, so they could have made an exception. Stop winking at us. Stop winking. Be giving us things we do not need. The letter we wanted, we did not get. But yeah, sure, and keep winking at us. The scenery is beautiful. But, as I was saying, I'm just going to reread Persuasion again. Because nothing beats the original. And this adaptation was just... It had some little tiny moments that were good, but the rest of it was absolute garbage. And I am pissed that this is time I would never get back. So yes, hopefully I spared you the efforts. If you still want to try your luck and see maybe Noria is exaggerating, please go right ahead. But there you go. That is Persuasion, and I am offended.